Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast, your favorite weekly games podcast. My name is Kerry Palmer, and joining me as always is Jeremy Braditich.
Hello.
I was cleaning my glasses as the intro was happening, and I didn't do a good enough job, so I'm going to do it again.
Okay. Oh, that's a shame, because what you didn't see while the intro was happening was me giving you the goofiest face just before the transition disappeared to try and get you to crack.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at all.
I was
not paying attention in the slightest.
I was pulling like a 2000s Jim Carrey face at you to try and get you to crack, which like I can time to disappear the moment like the transition comes back to the scene.
Yeah, I have to account for a slight bit of lag when it comes to that transition. Like I have to start talking before it goes away. I have to preempt it. It's like pre-firing in COD, you know.
Oh, you don't have to. Like it's it's good to.
No, but I don't want to, the newscaster moment of.
Yeah, well,
and back to the news.
Well, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why every time you watch the news, right, they have a couple seconds of the camera being on them, but like from sort of further away, right? You know what I mean? Like that, they'll
an establishing
shot of them inside the studio, which is funny considering that, like, of course they're inside the studio.
How much money do you think they spend on that, like, jib shot? You know what I mean? Like to have the facility just to have that floating camera angle to take you in and out of the news broadcast.
They also do it when they go to the weather, right? It's also the like, I'm going to turn to the weather person. I'm going to turn over to the sports person.
And also they're using it every day.
Yeah. And it's like
that's pretty justifiable, you know?
Yeah. This is going to be the last episode I record here.
Oh, you're going to move house.
I'm going to be in a different house by this time next week.
It's so funny how many locations we've recorded MiniMapCast or just Minimap stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I was in, like when we started Minimap, I was in one place for 6 months and moved here. And I've been here for more than 5 years since. Meanwhile, you've moved like 4 or 5 times.
It's my least favorite thing to do every year.
Well, I wish you a more than 12-month stay at your new home.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Jeremy, you wanted to talk about something as we were starting the show. Just hours ago, there was some news tweeted from the Platinum Games Twitter account and also Hideki Kamiya's Twitter account.
Yeah, Platinum and Kamiya have both announced that Kamiya is going to leave Platinum, which is like when you think of Platinum Games, regardless of the game that you think of, Kamiya was probably definitely involved in some way. Mm-hmm. He was he's one of the most prolific directors in games. Right. But also he was like the face of Platinum. I've got his Wikipedia page here. I'm just going to quickly run through just the games that he worked on from 96 to now.
Oh my God.
That's
a long career.
It is a long career. He's
seemingly not done.
No, definitely not done. He worked on Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil 0, Beautiful Joe, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Beautiful Joe 2.
These are hits. These are great.
Beautiful Joe Double Trouble, Okami, Bayonetta, Wonderful 101, Bayonetta 2, Astral Chain, World of Demons, Soul Cresta, Bayonetta 3, Bayonetta Origins, Project GG, which is their next game, which he was a director on. Okay. And also Scalebound, the cancelled Platinum Xbox exclusive game that didn't end up coming around.
That's a lot.
That is an impressive career, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, some of these he was supervisor on or supervising director or something.
Yeah, which is the equivalent of like producer in the games world, I would say.
Yeah. Or kind of like head of a studio and needs to like make sure everyone's like getting paid, like needs to spend like 8 hours a week in like their back end just approving timesheets.
And I feel like I need to also mention that for his role in Phoenix Wright, he was a voice role, which means that like he probably wasn't really that involved in that one. But Platinum did say, "We regret to announce that Hideki Kamiya will be leaving Platinum on October 12th, 2023. which is in a couple weeks. We are truly grateful for his creative ideas, leadership, and contribution to the growth of Platinum Games from our startup to this very day. We believe that he will continue to succeed in his future endeavors as a game creator. We are looking forward to seeing the game industry grow into a better place with him in it. We wish him all the best for the future.
That's his first credited game is Resident Evil in '96, and 2 years later he's directing Resident Evil 2. That's wild.
Yeah. As of 1 hour ago, Camille tweeted an image of his underwear while he's taken them off, sitting on the toilet when he's got a giant hole in his underwear. Camille's so fucking funny. I don't know if you know much about him. He's very rude in a lot of ways, but blunt, and he's rude in a way that's really fucking funny.
Right, okay.
He's famous for blocking people on Twitter.
Oh, this guy.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he blocked Imran Khan at some point, didn't he?
He's blocked so many people.
Yeah, regular Jonathan Blowout here.
Camille said, as announced on the official Platinum X account, which is funny that he actually specifies X, not Twitter, I will be leaving Platinum Games on October 12th. This came after a lot of consideration based on my own beliefs and was by no means an easy decision to make. However, I feel this outcome is for the best. I will continue to create in my Hideki Kamiya way. I hope you'll keep your eyes peeled.
So it doesn't seem too bad. It does seem fairly sudden.
It does seem sudden. It feels like there was a decision that was perhaps not... there was an agreement between the two parties that maybe could not have been reached.
Yeah, exactly. Like a creative differences kind of thing.
Maybe.
And when you look at what Platinum's been doing, right, there's a lot of stuff in there that you don't see. You don't see him working on things like the Transformers game or
Babylon's
Fall.
Yeah.
And so immediately I start to think, okay, maybe in the studio's bid to try and get a bit more outside, sort of less kitschy indie kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
Find a bit more mainstream income, at least partially. They go for the online microtransactions. They go for the licensed properties, and those are the things that for Platinum have done more poorly.
Camille was also one of the co-founders and the vice president of Platinum.
Yes.
So there's a bit there.
Yes.
I do wonder if maybe they're going through an acquisition and he doesn't want to be involved, perhaps,
or they're gearing up for it.
Maybe, yeah. It's hard to know because you sort of look at Platinum and Camille himself and his directorial abilities is an asset for that studio.
Yes.
So.
His name and his auteurness, recognizability. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, fascinating. If you or if anyone hasn't seen it, I highly recommend the Mega 64 video about Camille. In true Mega 64 fashion, it is completely bonkers and hilarious. But the entire video is premised on Camille blocking Rocco from Mega 64. On Twitter. And
wait, so he's infamous for doing that and then went on and did a bit about doing that so much?
Yeah, he's got a good
sense. So good.
He's got a good sense of humor, and the bit is about Rocco flying to Japan to meet Camille to get him to unblock him. And it's really funny. It's very funny.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
it's good.
All right, everyone, let's start the show. We've got a lot to talk about
so
today.
Much. What a fucking week.
And it's a bit of a weird one. I was saying to Jeremy, where I normally get my news from is Kind of Funny's Games Daily podcast. And since COVID, I've been a week behind on them. And so I just haven't really grasped the full gravity of the situation we're going to talk about today. But basically, there was a really big leak that occurred during the week. It was actually continuing to be from the Microsoft and Activision Blizzard acquisition stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Microsoft kind of leaked their own documents, wasn't that?
Yeah, my understanding is that they submitted a bunch of information to part of the ongoing cases in various courts, and they did not secure the link, I believe, is my understanding, which means it was freely viewable in the public domain when it should have been a private link.
Right.
But from my understanding is that this was an error on Microsoft's fault.
And it was like a lot of stuff.
It is the most inside baseball we've ever had of a company
and
of
we've
this
had,
size.
We've had Epic v Apple. We've had the last like 12 months of Microsoft trying to buy Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
Which they then involved Nintendo with. They've then involved Sony with. Like we've had a lot of inside baseball recently.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like it was some technical glitch like the GeForce Now leak. It wasn't like it wasn't hacking like the GTA 6 leak. This is just like someone made a boo-boo.
Yep. So we're going to get into it. I'm excited to hear all of the details that I haven't heard throughout the week. And you get to hear all of them too, because that's the topic for today. If you didn't know, this is the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast. We go live every Wednesday with 24 hours of early access given to all of our wonderful patrons. More on them in just a second. More on that, rather. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you tell your friends and give the show a positive rating wherever you're listening to us or watching us. Pardon me. If you're on YouTube, it makes a huge difference. It only takes a couple of seconds. If you want to get notified every time a new episode is released, or maybe when we go live, you can follow us on social media. You can find us at MiniMapAU on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and also Twitch, where we are live every Monday, 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for the live recording of the MiniMapCast. We always hang out with chat before and after and during the show, and it's a great time. We wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the MiniMapCast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. And finally, Minimap is completely independent and funded almost entirely out of our own pockets. So if you want to help keep the mics and lights on, you can support us by becoming one of our patrons. For only $5 a month, you get 24 hours of early access for all episodes of the MiniMapCast, plus some extra bonus features like our retro press conference watch-along show that we've done, early access, like I've already said. You can find all of that over on patreon.com/minimapau. And remember, it's cheaper than a latte with oat milk. Just invariably. Just like...
as a universal constant. Yeah.
It's just not even like a debate. Like when we wrote that, it was a bit of a debate.
Yeah,
it was not even a debate.
Yeah, when I wrote that, it was like $5, like 50 or something. But now it's like $6.20, like every day.
Yeah, but I bet you could find a $4.50 one. I bet you could find somewhere that didn't charge that much extra for oat milk at the time.
Oh, back then, sure.
Easily.
Yeah, back then, totally. Yeah.
Now, no.
I do have one thing I want to read you just before we jump into the Xbox thing, because I think you specifically will find it very funny.
Okay.
It's about Final Fantasy VII and the Advent Children and Crisis Core and the whole thing. This is from a Twitter account, which is the Shinra Archaeological Department, which is funny.
The things that fan like websites and Twitter accounts like call themselves, they're always like that far insular that like you look at it from the outside and you have no idea what it actually is.
Yeah,
unless you actually played the game.
Yeah, totally.
Like there's an Aragon fan website that I always think of that like no one would know what it was because it's like literally not an English word.
Yeah, right. This is from an article on a website. I'm not too sure where this website is from. It is in
the internet,
Mexico, I believe. The website is 3D Juegos, is how I'm assuming that word is pronounced. That's the name of the website. The tweet here, which credits that website, saying, when asked about Zack's Buster Sword design in the original Crisis Core 7, original Crisis Core Final Fantasy 7, Nomura said that the design was inherited from the one used in Final Fantasy 7 Advent Children, and he's not sure why they changed it, because it's been changed since then in the new versions of the game. It looks slightly different.
So the design of the Buster Sword for Crisis Core when the game came out in like 2007 or whatever, on PSP, was based on the design of the Buster Sword from the sequel movie Advent Children.
Yes, which it's got a different crossbar at the bottom instead of the normal like riveted metal. It's this like designed royal gold thing.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny because in Ever Crisis, Zack's character portrait uses that version of the sword. Anyway, in the new version of Crisis Core, it uses Cloud's riveted version, which is not what it was originally
in Crisis Core, right?
It's in Crisis Core Remake, in the new one. He says he's not sure why they changed it. In fact, he doesn't even think he authorized it. Which is just funny. Like that's just
really
so funny.
For someone whose name is on the front of every Final Fantasy game as character designs by, he's the only person who has that ever since Final Fantasy VII. Yep. That is very funny to hear that line from, especially for Final Fantasy specifically.
Yes.
7 specifically. Like I think that I prefer it this way because this is the sword that Cloud inherits, basically. It's the sword before Cloud gets it.
Yeah, but
why wouldn't it be like what it is when Cloud gets it? It should just be like what it is when Cloud gets it.
Things can change over the years. You change swords a tremendous amount of times in that game anyway. So it doesn't
not
really...
in Crisis Core.
Sure, but like in 7, which is you know...
no, you do. But like, what is all the promo art with? Is with the Buster Sword. Like
apparently the original promo art, it's also a little bit inconsistent as well.
Oh my god, everybody, what are we doing?
Look,
they're fucking around with the timeline and they can't even get their own shit together.
Well, he's not in charge of this one anymore.
I don't mean him. I mean all of it. I mean the whole thing.
Yeah. Anyway, onto the Xbox.
Let's talk about all of Xbox's dirty laundry.
So much stuff. So much stuff. Yeah, so there was like we mentioned, there was a big accidental publicly made information dump, which was freely readable by everybody, which detailed a lot of things. Starting off with the biggest piece of information that got leaked. I'm gonna be jumping sporadically between a couple of sources that I'm referencing, but primarily the sources that I'm referencing are from The Verge, because people like Tom Warren and Jay Peters they cover a lot of this stuff in tremendous amount of detail.
Full time for the last 6 months and doing an excellent job.
Yeah. So this article is titled, "This is Microsoft's new diskless Xbox Series X design with a lift to wake controller."
Wow.
So we got to look at the new Xbox, which is not due to be announced or released until next year or perhaps the year after.
Yep.
There is a timeline here. Let's go in order. So the Xbox itself, this is meant to be an Xbox Series X, which is slightly smaller, but features no disk drive and is no longer a rectangle, but more of a cylinder shape. I don't know if you remember what one of the Mac Pro looked like.
I was literally just about to say that, yeah.
The Mac Pro from yonks and yonks ago. It looks a lot like this. Its codename is Brooklyn. It is...
Okay, good enough.
Yep. There's there are literal... we literally get Xbox's slideshows and decks for a lot of this stuff. So a lot of this is going to feel like marketing talk, and it's because it actually is, but it's
internal business talk.
Internal marketing business talk, totally. So it says here...
They're talking about viable product and...
Yeah. And so it's worth mentioning as well that a lot of this stuff is definitely not final. So what we're saying here might not actually... This might never come out. This might change dramatically. This information could become out of date very quickly. This information might be already out of date, but this is what we know so far. It says here, Brooklyn will deliver 4K Gen 9 console gaming with more internal storage, faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, and a more immersive controller with a beautiful redesign that elevates the all digital blah blah blah. All new Southbridge to modernize I/O and sustainability efforts, Wi-Fi 6E radio for better throughput latency, Bluetooth 5.2 radio for improved accessory experiences, and
that's good. I like all those things. That's cool.
Reduced PSU power by 15%, which I think is really good. New low power standby mode is 20% of current Xbox Series S standby power mode.
Whoa!
And this is
very low.
This is the Series X design. This is the one that's meant to be the beefy, a trillion teraflops or whatever. Increased use of PCR on housing to 30%. I don't know what that means. 100% recyclable packaging. New design, more internal storage for games, 2 terabytes, USB-C front port with power delivery, all new immersive controller, and same great price of $499 is what it says here.
So it sounds like no spec bump, like no increase in terms of performance for games, but increased Wi-Fi speed and strength and reliability, increased Bluetooth strength and speed and reliability, better storage, better power efficiency. It sounds like a way for them to refresh the Xbox.
Yeah, like it literally says Brooklyn is the Xbox Series X refresh. This is not the next gen of Xboxes. This is the middle one, which I assume, I don't know for certain. We'll go over the timeline in a moment, but like I assume there will be this will come out as in addition to the Series X that already exists. Purely for the fact that, like, if they release this, then they don't have any consoles without a disk drive rather.
Exactly. Yeah. What I would see happening is them phasing out production of the Series S, and just having the current Series X, the square one, become a cheaper model, unless the Series S becomes their even cheaper entry point. So they want it to be even cheaper.
There is, as a part of the timeline, which I'll get to, there is a couple of other pieces of hardware, which I believe is also a Series S refresh. So I don't think they're going to get rid of their Series S. I think that they are happy enough with where it is at the moment.
So they'll refresh the Series S and X, but then have to keep the current Series X in production, so they've got a model with a disk drive. I mean, unless they just fully jettison it.
So let's jump to the timeline just so we can get some more context for a lot of the stuff that's happening. So, there's a thing here called Siebel, Project Siebel. I'm not 100% certain what that is. I believe that's probably their streaming device.
Yep.
That has a current launch window of financial year Q4 2024.
Okay.
So end of May is what they've got here.
End of May 24.
End of May, yeah, which is like that's the end of the financial Q4, because their financial quarter begins in July. Yeah. That has apparently a launch price of $69.
That's cool.
Which is probably Keystone.
It's like the price of a controller.
Yeah, right. That is, unless. Which I'm not sure if that's. Oh no, sorry. I'm wrong here. I forgot. Siebel is actually the name of their new controller. I forgot that was the name that was associated with it. So Siebel's going to be announced.
Their Wake console on.
Yeah.
Whatever they call it, Lift or whatever.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. So the new controller is going to launch, in May of 2024. That's their current timeline. And then at the beginning of July 2025, they're going to announce the new consoles refresh. So that is Brooklyn launching at the end of October 2025. Yep. Financial year 2025.
Okay.
And Elwood launching in end of August financial year 2025.
So just a couple months before.
That one has got a price of $299. And the color scheme,
the same price as the Series S.
And the color scheme is white for the Elwood and black for Brooklyn. Like, this is a Series S and a Series X redesign, a refresh rather.
And we're talking late 2025, are we? Not late 2024.
When does a financial year start? Financial year is offset by 6 months.
Yes, the financial year starts. Q1 and Q2 are the second half of
the year that the financial year starts in. Right, cool. Yeah. So
the 24-25 financial year, Q1 and Q2 is the second half of 2024.
So their timeline is May of 2025, we have a new controller. August of 2025, we have the refresh for the Series S. And October 2025, we have the refresh of the Series X at the same price as they are currently.
And the same specs.
I believe so. I don't know.
That would be in there. They wouldn't lead with, unless they just did not include them in those documents at all.
I've no reason.
No chance of it leaking.
I have no reason to believe that they are going to change the specs.
That blows my mind.
This is not a pro model.
No, these are slims. This is what
Yeah.
we're looking at. We're looking at slims,
So
which is what we got with all consoles in all prior generations with no Project Scorpio or PS4 Pro, which is what we got last generation.
yeah. So it says here a 60-day separation between the launches enables dialogue with different audiences. This is the reasoning behind them separating the two launches of these by a couple months.
They can focus on the S and they can focus on the X.
Yeah. Allows us to focus on new improvements in Siebel, tell stories beyond console, direct to consumer, adds value to Brooklyn and Elwood and Announce, gives Elwood its own moment earlier in the holiday timeframe to maximize sales, gives last chance Edith. I don't remember what Edith is.
Is that the streaming device?
I don't think so because it says last chance. Edith might be like Series S original.
But we know what those. I mean, unless they changed what their project code names were, like they changed. Maybe they changed Project Scarlet, But that's what we knew what that was.
Did we know what the
S? I'm not sure.
Yeah. It also says Starkville end of life ahead of Brooklyn's launch, which might have been the internal name for X as well.
Yeah. So Starkville ahead of Brooklyn. So they've linked those. That sounds like the two different Series X consoles.
Like that's what it looks like.
And we know that was Project Scarlet.
But it says
so they've got different code names for these current consoles.
But it says last chance Edith at 512 gigabytes.
That's the current hard drive space of the Series S.
Is it? Is it only 500? Right. Okay.
Well, it's more like 400 off the OS.
Right. But I just thought that was a minimum of 1 terabyte.
I'll double check. I've got my Series S box over here. Yeah, 512 gig. It says it right there.
There you go. Yeah. So last chance for the Series S at $199 as Black Friday offers before end of life, and then Starkville, which I'm assuming is the Xbox Series X, end of life ahead of Brooklyn's launch, which is interesting. It means that they are
end of life. They are phasing out the disk drive.
They are phasing out their disk drive, which is fascinating.
Now that said, it's not like this is happening May, August, October 2024. This isn't happening in the next 6 to 12 months. This is happening in the next 18 to 24 months. This is 2 years down the line.
I can't believe we've got this information. Like, I can't believe that we know what they're planning to do for the next bunch of years.
At least for the moment, right? I mean, you're right. Like, seeing this far down the road for console plans is wild. And maybe they've got a pro model in here that they just didn't disclose as part of these findings. Maybe it wasn't relevant. Maybe they just didn't put it in there because they didn't want something like this happening with that information. Because even just this is huge. Like, this will define. This gives PlayStation not just rumors and like sources and like what have you heard. This gives them concrete information. And Xbox will try to squirrel out of it. They'll duke and jive and try and play this differently. But like, PlayStation knows the game plan now. Everyone does.
And they won't stray too much for this if they think it's the best course, right? Like,
that's right.
This is not a thing where they look at this and because now everybody knows they're going to change it. They can look at it and like they can do things like they can gauge reaction, they can gauge like how like the temperature of things before they announce it. Like, not that this is a thing.
I've heard no one talk about a drop of a disk drive of this last week. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard like it's clear from the product, but no one's. I think the tacit assumption has been, oh, they'll keep the other one around.
And like maybe they'll sell an external disk drive as well, or make them like make other ones that are out there already, like, compatible. We don't know. But like this would, for me, as someone who is a big 4K Blu-ray person, this is a shame for me. And someone who just enjoys buying games physically.
Well, that's true, but you have the original Series X.
I do, but
you don't need Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2.
No, but like it would be, but like I'm then looking ahead
it's a heralding of the times, right? It's a sign of what's to come.
I'm looking ahead to the console after this one, right? I'm looking ahead to the pro version of the Xbox. It's like that. There's a chance they're not there.
Dropping the disk drive entirely. Can I just say the thing that blows my mind about this, like not just that we know these plans so far ahead of time, but that these plans are only being enacted that far along. Almost 5 years into the life of the Xbox Series family of consoles is when we get the refreshes. That is so long. That is so far into the life of this system. And we have to remember that this system started during COVID. Everything was prolonged. Their initial sales were hampered. I mean, everyone's were across the industry.
Yeah, like I think this is we're still feeling those impacts for this.
Exactly. And like we were hypothesizing at the time that we will see a longer drawn out life cycle so that they can stretch out this console to become as profitable as they wanted it to be across the traditional 7 or 8 year period, but despite the COVID speed bumps. But seeing this is sort of the proof in the pudding of that, of the mindset, of the thought process, of what they are trying to do here. And that is my only conclusion off the top of my head looking at this so far, that they are directly addressing that slow start, that false start off the firing line with a late refresh only, a late slim edition refresh.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, like super interesting. Just to wrap up on Project Siebel, which is the new controller.
Oh yes.
It says here it's called Xbox Wireless 2, which is I'm assuming it's their internal they're not Bluetooth, but whatever their connection, their direct connection to the console is. Oh
yeah, their wireless protocol. Yeah. Okay.
Direct to cloud and Bluetooth 5.2. So I'm assuming you I don't know, but direct to cloud doesn't imply to me connected to the phone. It implies that perhaps this controller will connect to your Wi-Fi.
Data center.
Well, like to your Wi-Fi to be a less latency device than the phone would be.
Yeah,
not unlike
like
Stadia.
Creating like a mesh network almost of like where your phone is talking to your router to then talk to the data center. Your controller is doing that. They're independently going to that, so you're not introducing latency by talking through the device that you're streaming from. It's exactly what Stadia
did. It's bonkers, right?
Or like reported to be doing. I don't actually know how well that worked for them.
I think my understanding is that the tech was not the issue with Stadia.
No, I know, but was that one of the features that was meant to have, and like the controller had it, but they never enabled it? You know what I mean? Like,
no,
did that get off the ground? I never heard anyone talk about it after the launch.
I think it did.
Okay,
that was my understanding.
It's a cool solution.
Yeah,
make the controller a bit smarter.
It's the correct solution, right? It is the solution to this, right? Seamless pair and switch, new mobile app features, C-paired devices and cloud managed devices, accessories, blah blah blah. Rechargeable and swappable battery, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah, cool. So, I mean, that's yeah. Okay.
But I think it's an internal, but swappable battery is what I read from that. And
how is it internal and swappable?
As in it's a battery that comes with the controller is what I look at that with.
I hear that as like maybe they're not using AA. It's not a AA battery recess anymore. It's just a general a proprietary battery recess.
Recyclable materials, repair and disassembly. New modular thumbsticks. Build improvements.
So the thumbsticks drift.
Yeah. Haptic feedback, which is interesting. This sounds like that they're going to adopt the same protocol as the DualSense, so that now like games will at least hopefully be compatible with that feature as well.
Haptic is such a general term though, because they've got rumble in the triggers of the current series controller, and they call that something like haptic feedback. You know, so like I don't know if that's just them towing the same line.
But I feel like if you're gonna be including if you're going to be redesigning and refreshing your new controller, you want one of the features that your competitor has, right? Like you wouldn't want to skip out on the.
It doesn't say haptic triggers though. It just says feedback. That could be anything.
Well, feedback, in my mind, anyway. Yeah, you are great. It doesn't specify triggers.
I would be great. Like I hope they have it. I hope all controllers have that. But,
haptics doubles as speakers as well, which we know that the PlayStation controller can do.
Yes, it sounds like rumble.
Accelerometer, which has been missing from Xbox controllers until now.
Yep. Cool. That's good.
Quieter buttons and thumbsticks, which is good because they're kind of loud.
I've never liked using gyro controls on a PlayStation game, but they're in plenty of Nintendo ones.
Yeah, aside from the very first PS3 Ratchet and Clank, I've never found it good.
Yeah.
Lift Awake, which is one of the things that they're talking about, which is good because
that's really cool.
Like every controller should begin to have Lift Awake. My 8-bit Do controller has Lift Awake. Like everybody else, like you need to get your shit together and include that.
I want my cats to be able to turn on my console, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Same layout, blah blah blah. It looks like it's wearing pants, this new controller.
Yeah, because I saw it, right? It's like it's half wide along the top and then black along the bottom, but the dividing line is not like in line where the grips start or anything. It's just like
it's just above.
Just a line.
Yeah, it looks worse. It doesn't look as good. Like
I glanced at it once a week ago, and I still remember how not excited I was about it.
Yeah, like I quite enjoy the look of my current Xbox controller. Like I don't want one that looks like it's wearing trousers.
Yeah, it's a weird move. Oh, you know what? Looking at it, they look like longer handles.
It does look slightly longer, and it also looks like there's a different texture.
Yeah, like a grippy texture.
Yeah.
Look, if that is true, longer handles, it's starting to look more like a PlayStation controller.
Well, the DualSense at least, the DualSense's legs, whatever, they feel like they are longer than the DualShock 4s.
Oh, the DualShocks were really long too. Like they were longer.
They were, but they kind of looked a bit stubby, whereas the PS5 controller looks like it's going to transform.
Yeah, that's true. Looking at this controller as well, I want to say it also looks a little wider.
Maybe.
It looks slightly wider, and its legs, its stumps look a little longer.
I do wonder if part of that is because there's a lot more network inside of it.
Yeah, maybe they're making more room for internal. That's a good point.
Like radars and stuff like that.
Because there's a lot of room between the top of the face buttons and the top of the stick and the bumpers. There's much more room than I think there is on the control. I don't have one on me, but it looks a bit different. There's a second. Oh, that's their screenshot button in the middle there, though. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, fascinating. Controller refresh, I think, is a great idea. I'll be very interested to see the price.
Well, like it's they say here $69.95 is what they're aiming for, which I think is probably It's probably about 90 to 100 here.
That's probably more like 110.
Maybe
70. That's 70, which is what they're charging for their games, right? Which is what we're getting for 125 on the shelves here.
Also, our dollar's getting worse and worse, so it might even get increased. But by the time that comes around.
But yeah, this is going to be a bit more than the normal controller. But that's fine if it's coming with battery, if it's coming with like direct to cloud stuff, it's got all these extra features, gyro, all of that. This
leads directly into another article from The Verge written by Sean Hollister, which is Microsoft's next Xbox coming 2028 envisions hybrid computing. So this is next gen.
Fuck.
This is details on next gen.
Holy shit.
Which we have. This is what I mean. Then you were like, do you really want to talk about this? I'm like, yes, I want to talk about this.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
So.
Holy shit.
How
did I not hear about this?
I don't know. I don't know. I was feasting on this.
Yeah, of course you were.
Microsoft new disclosed Xbox Series X is far from the only news that just leaked out of the Microsoft case. The documents may also reveal Microsoft's far future plans for 2028, which the company believes it could achieve full convergence of its cloud gaming platform and physical hardware to deliver cloud hybrid games is the thing that they're talking about.
Full convergence of cloud gaming.
So there's a quote here. Our vision: develop a next generation hybrid game platform capable of leveraging the combined power of the client and cloud to deliver deeper immersion and entirely new classes of game experiences. Now,
man, wait till the Crackdown 3 dev team hears about this.
I think about that demo often, and I remember the live demo of them.
Cloud-based destruction is like, whoa, what does that mean?
Well, like I watched a tech demo that they put out once, which was them on the fly buying and selling, it wasn't buying and selling, but it was like renting and getting rid of like Azure servers to host as more and more things were blowing up in the server. And I remember looking at that going, this seems really poorly optimized for like if you're buying and getting rid of this
Yeah,
quickly.
that sounds awful.
I'm like, what?
Because you don't want servers to have downtime, and you also don't want to spike them with demand over and over and over again.
I remember thinking like this seems really inefficient.
That's like treating a server bank, like an entire building of servers, like a CPU.
So it's worth mentioning again, these are internal documents. There's a lot of pie in the sky talk.
So many asterisks.
So many, yeah.
5 years away.
Optimized for real-time gameplay and creators, we will enable new levels of performance beyond the capabilities of the client hardware alone. Key strategic decisions and investments. Silicon for Q1 2023. There's a lot of like these are decisions they need to make. So ARM64 versus.
So they're talking about how they develop the literal hardware starting now.
They're talking about going like for CPU, are they doing balance of big/little CPU cores?
Right,
if they're going
common in the current PC space, yep.
x64 versus ARM64.
Oh my God.
Code like for the GPU, do they co-design with AMD or license an AMD IP, for example? Right. Graphics innovation, next gen, DirectX ray tracing, dynamic global illumination, micropolygon rendering optimizations, machine learning based super resolution, extensibility model for faster iteration innovation. Stuff that
So that's everything we've been hearing from Unreal Engine 5 and NVIDIA's AI graphics technologies.
Yeah. Those are the words just one side from a leaked presentation dubbed The Next Generation of Gaming at Microsoft, which appears to be a May 2022 pitch document entirely around this idea, which is not that far away. Some of this documentation that we've got is from like 2020. This is a bit more recent. This one is from 2022.
It's only 15 months old.
The company imagined you play these games using the combined power of a sub $99 gadget, possibly a handheld, and its xCloud platform simultaneously.
So that's why they're talking about like hardware and cloud hybrid, because they want to push as cheap a console as possible.
They want that barrier to entry. Device. The barrier to entry needs to be as low as possible for you.
And it's not the like the cheap version. It's not the like the premium product, the premium Xbox experience is available only with this hybrid cloud technology. That's what they're pushing for. That's fascinating.
The article goes on. Now in these documents, Microsoft's calling the idea, quote, cohesive hybrid compute, a, quote, cloud-to-edge architecture across silicon, graphics, and OS-enabled ubiquitous play.
Wow.
The article then goes on to say, if it's happening, it may have already be happening. The team suggested it would need to ink partnerships with AMD for the silicon by the first quarter of this year to lock down the company's Navi 5 graphics. For reference, we're only on Navi 3 right now, as well as potentially nabbing the company's Zen 6 CPU cores. It's also considering ARM. Microsoft suggested it would also need an NPU, which is a machine learning AI coprocessor, to provide a wide variety of benefits, including super resolution, latency compensation, frame rate interpolation, and more. And then
that's so funny because NVIDIA leads that stuff. NVIDIA is so far ahead with their AI computing and their AI graphics technologies, but none of I think the NVIDIA apparently are terrible to work with, absolutely terrible. And they're so greedy.
That doesn't surprise me.
No,
really.
And you can see that in just what processors and GPUs, APUs that the recent systems have been using. PS4 and Xbox One both use AMD graphics technologies, and I think both of them use AMD graphics technologies for the current generation as well. Although I'm not as concrete on that one. They've always been the play, even although they're not necessarily the leader. They can make a good budget performant chip.
It's why both Xbox and PlayStation have gone with AMD this generation.
Exactly. The only one working with NVIDIA is Nintendo.
Are they actually?
Well, yeah. I mean, the Switch is built off the Tegra stuff that they made for the Shield like 10 years ago, isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah,
when people talk about the new Switch, they are talking about DLSS, which isn't a general term. That's NVIDIA's upscaling technology.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the same with RTX. RTX is NVIDIA's ray tracing as opposed to just like
GTX, which is what it used to be.
Yeah. The document includes an entire potential roadmap for the technology that would have seen hardware design begin in 2024. The first dev kits arrive 2027. The first hybrid cloud games being produced from 2024 through 2026. So it has there's a big timeline here which includes a bunch of stuff.
So it wouldn't be the launch of hybrid gaming with the launch of these consoles necessarily. Like towards the end of the series systems, seeing some of those hybrid games come to life.
Yeah. So it's funny here. It's funny here seeing stuff like key milestone is there's one
Halo
here that no like these are high level milestones like first party feedback in 2022, first third party feedback in 2023 and 2024, platform bring up, whatever that means, first dev kits out 2027, final dev kits out at the end of 2028, flighting between 2027 and 2029, third party disclosures in 2026 about some stuff, hardware design, evolution 1, evolution 2, like a ton of stuff in here, like a lot of acronyms here that I don't know what it means.
This is so far in the weeds. Like talking about how they're going to like source like deals with GPU manufacturers 6 years ahead of a product launch.
Yeah.
Like I cannot imagine the fucking headaches these people have trying to mastermind and think this far ahead.
Yeah.
And like play the chess game with that much money on the line, that far ahead of time, and hoping nothing goes too far awry and that they don't have to pivot too hard by the time they get there. Like,
yeah,
I could not handle a job like that. That's for sure.
There's also there's a lot more in this article about stuff like a one-handed controller or a mobile controller designed for the Xbox. They talk about Keystone more. They talk about Brooklyn more. They apparently the full product vision for Sebel has not been currently approved as of May 2022. There's stuff here like talking about the path to leadership in games for them includes cloud first being like they need 110 million Xbox Game Pass subscribers to be the leader in the games market.
110 million Game Pass subscribers to be the leader in the market.
Something like that.
That is more than 4 times what they currently have.
Yes. Yes, it is. And that's by financial year 2030.
So that's them making like selling like PS3, PS4 numbers of Game Pass subscriptions.
Of a subscription. That is correct.
God almighty, that is
1/3 of the United States of America.
Oh, thank God their market is bigger than that. Jesus, that is one hell of a target.
Yeah, like and like
this is why Microsoft is spending $70 billion on Activision.
It's a 2030 target.
Right.
This is after the Gen 8. Sorry, after the 10th generation of console launches. After their mid-console refresh, obviously. Like it's got this big graph.
Do they say anything more about their next gen console?
I don't think so.
So all we've heard from these next gen plans is 2028, trying to work out the silicon and all of that, and that they are focusing on the premium experience being this $99 theoretical hybrid console experience.
This is like the Avengers Endgame of all of the things that they've been trying to build towards. They've been building this since Phil took over back in like 2014.
Well, since before, right? Xbox was all about trying to go digital faster.
I guess, right? Yeah, but this has been they're
doing it right now, but
well, yeah, like they've actually consolidated everything to build to this one device, right?
Yeah.
This is
not sacrifice the gaming.
Yeah. Yes. There's
God almighty.
I know.
There was more stuff than this too, though, wasn't there? Like,
yeah.
This is big.
We're not done.
Oh, we're gonna need to go to the break soon.
I know. Yeah, we might. I'm going to quickly run through some Game Pass numbers because we spoke about it.
Yes, please.
Some stuff that's interesting. A lot of this stuff is from Ethan Gatch of Kotaku put out a really great thread, like sort of about stuff that he found. He starts it off with, one thing to note is all the strategy documents, emails, pitch decks, at the end of the day, are created not by stone-cold capitalist machines, but people. The top secret Xbox PowerPoints are full of confusing slides and meaningless slogans, just like yours. Generic picture of a road which says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. African proverb. Right. Like, they include that shit, that everybody's terrible nonsense.
When everyone goes to the next slide and the presenter knows it's coming and everyone like quietly laughs in the room. And they're like, oh, that played. Okay, let's keep going.
It's the kind of thing that when you hit next slide, before you read out the silly quote you've put on it, you give a kind of a wry smile. So,
and as my dad always said,
and then
a really fun clarification from Ethan there. That's good.
And some variation of, okay, but let's get serious, folks. Like, there's something in there. The top Game Pass games by hours played from June 2019 to June 2020.
Okay, so this is 1 year of Game Pass, June 19 to June 2020. Okay. So this includes onset of COVID.
Yes, this would have been the first 6 months of COVID, realistically. The first 8 months of COVID.
Well, COVID only really happened at the start of 2020.
Yeah, but it was around in other countries before Australia.
It was December. It's like people traced it back to contracting in December. Okay. So like,
right.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is number one. This is not really a surprise.
No.
However, subscribers played Grand Theft Auto 5 on average of 12 hours, which is quite a lot. Now, average includes everybody.
That's the average.
Yeah.
But when you look at averages of things being played heaps, right? When you look at like attach rate for consoles, and people say a good attach rate is like 1.5. Could you imagine someone who has a console and has 1.5 games, and that's seen as good? Like, for the average to be 12 hours, that means there are so many people balancing out the millions of people who are only paying 1 or 2 hours a day or week. So many people who are playing 12, 15, 18 hours a day. That is
this is not
fucked up.
This is not hours a day. This is just hours. But
hours are how much? Hours a year?
This is hours per subscriber. Across the whatever it would have been at that point, maybe like 20 million people.
But it has to be over a time span. You can't just say hours. Is it over the 12-month period for the 2019 to 2020 Junes?
Yeah.
Okay. I leap.
Yeah, no.
12 hours is huge.
2 hours is huge. This is like and that includes people who have not played it. Right.
Yeah, who install it.
or didn't even install it. This is per subscriber.
Oh
yeah, this is across whatever, like maybe they had maybe 20 million people at that point. I'm not too sure. I don't know the numbers.
Yeah.
But a couple of years ago, maybe if it was 20, maybe it was 18 million, whatever. The average,
but the total amount of game time divided by the total number of Game Pass users, right?
Yes.
Fuck, that's huge.
Yeah, 12.6 for Grand Theft Auto 5, 12.1 for this is not. Wait, what? That doesn't make sense. How can NBA be higher?
No, that 2K. That's not out of the question.
Okay, 17 hours.
Yeah,
maybe. All right.
Like it like NBA. It sells every year, millions.
I guess
every year.
NBA 2K20 made 17.6 hours. Gears 5 did 13.9 hours.
Oh, good on it.
Forza Horizon 4 did 13.7 hours. Banger. Yeah. And Ark Survival Evolved did 14.5 hours as well.
Whoa. That's huge.
Yeah. Monthly average engaged subscribers in the millions for GTA 5 was 10. That's a lot.
That was when that was when they did not have 25 million subscribers for Game Pass. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's like probably 2/3 of all subscribers installing and playing GTA.
The most played games in the same time frame. This is not Game Pass. This is just across Xbox.
Just Xbox.
Yeah. Fortnite.
Would that include Windows? Like Windows, Xbox?
I don't know. I don't believe so, because this will be through the Xbox store. Fortnite is number one on Xbox. This is not surprising.
No, especially not 3 years ago.
What is incredible to see is that this is in the graph. This is in the chart of franchises, not in the chart of games specifically.
So Fortnite is dominating all of Call of Duty games being played across the entire year. All NBN games and all FIFA games.
The total hours played for Call of Duty was 9.9 billion.
9.9 billion across all Call of Duty games for a 12-month period.
Fortnite got 10.9 billion. One game. Now
this was the time, June 2019. Like, this was, I would consider that about the start of the peak of Fortnite. Because that was
one of its biggest peaks, if not its biggest.
Exactly. Because I think that was the year that they launched it on Switch. And that was, I think, one of its, at its time, like the start of its biggest swell.
Yeah, its biggest swell came around when it was on phones, but I think like also around the same time there was the Travis Scott concert. There was Ninja playing with Drake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it was all of that. It was that whole thing. Monthly average users in the millions for Fortnite is 12.8 million, with 11.4 million for Call of Duty, the franchise.
Wow.
Again.
All Call of Duty games, yeah.
The average annual playtime in hours, number one is Destiny.
Wow. The total hours played over the year.
Yeah. The average annual playtime hours. So that would be the people who are playing it, they are playing it the most is Destiny. Fortnite sits at about 2.12 hours.
Right.
The average for Destiny is 420.
Oh my God.
People who play Destiny fucking play Destiny.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Continuing on, after Elden Ring exploded, Phil Spencer told Sarah Bond to try and get Dark Souls trilogy onto Game Pass. Doesn't appear to have succeeded. There's some emails here saying,
Fascinating.
Another option with, this is an email from Phil, another option with hit factor around Elden Ring is to try and get all of the Dark Souls games, make a push with From and an Elden Ring upsell from Phil. It's just interesting to get those emails just actually happening.
That is interesting, especially as it didn't actually happen.
Yeah. How much does it cost to get a game onto Xbox Game Pass? Here's Microsoft's estimated third-party fees.
Hang on, I might hold you here, Jeremy. This sounds like an excellent time to take a break before we dive right into this.
I want to keep going. Yeah, right. Yeah, good call.
Me too. I really want to keep going, but we need a break, and I reckon the audience might too. Okay,
right,
so
let's do it.
Everyone, we're gonna pause. We're gonna take a breather. We do have a what we've been playing section, but we'll see how much we get of that.
That might be truncated.
Right back with this. Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. We were just talking about OzPost. And now we're back to talk more about Xbox.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the edited version of the show, that's going to be like 1 second for you, but it's been like half an hour. And so so we were just about to talk about...
Yes, we're going to talk about how much it costs to get a game onto Xbox Game Pass. We are continuing to read through the work from people from The Verge and Ethan Gatch from Kotaku.
So is this a flat rate? Like, is this like something that is, or is this an estimate or generalized?
This is an estimate. This is Microsoft's estimated third-party fees.
Because I'm sure they wouldn't charge the same thing they charge the Yakuza developers as they would the Cocoon developers, you know?
It has examples.
Great.
It's not the image that is shared. I'm not certain what number one and number two are, but there's a couple of other examples below number one and number two. They're cut off at the top for some reason. For Grand Theft Auto 5, which says here is released.
Yep.
It says in the document because there's a bunch of unreleased games and there's also released games. For example, like this document was written prior to like Mortal Kombat, the new Mortal Kombat, Jedi Survivor, like Suicide Squad. Like this document was written prior to those games. Even some of them even being announced, for example. It would cost $12 to $15 million a month to put Grand Theft Auto 5 on Xbox Game Pass.
That is a lot of money, but for GTA 5, that's fucking chump change.
Yeah.
A month they make more than that in like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Or maybe as much as that in 6 hours.
For Lego Star Wars, $35 million
a month.
No, just flat. Or for the duration of the contract, I assume.
Yeah. So 12 to 18 months or something.
So consider...
That's a lot.
Well,
they have to pay Xbox.
I believe it's the other way around.
The Xbox is... Oh, of course it's the other way around. Yeah, because they're not making sales.
No.
Right. So this is how much Xbox is buying the rights to distribute these on the platform for. Okay, yeah, good. Good.
I don't think if you're an indie dev out there and Microsoft are charging you to put your game on Xbox Game Pass, you should talk to a lawyer.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I'm just getting the picture straight.
Yeah. Xbox were estimating that to put Grand Theft Auto 5 on Xbox Game Pass, it would cost them $12 to $15 a month. Sorry, $12 to $15 million a month.
Goodness.
Keep in mind as well that is an interesting one because they also will make money based off the microtransactions that go on inside of a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, which is a tremendous amount of money. So to them, they're looking at that going, it'll cost us this much per month, but we would probably make that back in shark cards, the cut that we take on the microtransactions, right?
And also being the cheapest way to get into the full version of GTA. And
enough people will come in to it to play GTA. Take-Two are happy taking $15 million a month from us just for more people to play their game, right? Like, you know, there's all that stuff, right? So Grand Theft Auto 5, $12 to $15 million a month. Lego Star Wars, $35 million flat.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, $250 million for the new one.
Oh my God, for one.
It says Mortal Kombat Next is what it's written here as, prior to it being announced.
Wait, no, that came out in 2020.
Mortal Kombat 1?
No, 11.
They're talking about Mortal Kombat 1 here.
Okay.
It says here the release date is April 2023, which would have...
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's definitely Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah.
$250 million.
Yep.
Fucking hell.
It says expected partner ask 250 million, hours 100 million. I'm not entirely certain what that means.
Is that like they're going to come back with a counter offer of 100 million?
No. I believe it's 100 million hours probably total played is what they're expecting.
Oh. Hours, right.
Yeah.
When you said expected ask, and then I heard you say hours, I was like, ow ask.
Oh, no. Like hours with a H.
Right.
not hours, not hours.
I wanted salsa, not salsa.
It's fucking accent. They have also wildcard considerations here as well. So for Grand Theft Auto, it says, will they do a PC in time? Will they do longer than a 3 to 4 month term? Have to move really fast on this one, is what they say regarding Grand Theft Auto 5.
I wonder why.
For Mortal Kombat,
you have to move really fast in this, then 8 or 9 year old game.
Yeah. For Mortal Kombat, they specifically mentioned that there's a change of guard of Discovery, which would have been the Discovery HBO Time Warner, that entire mess, right? They also call it a crown jewel of a game. I'm assuming that is in regards to the publishers.
Mm.
Jedi Survivor expected partner ask is $300 million.
So that's why EA is keeping their thing on there. They're making hundreds of millions just from... I mean, I'm scrolling through now to try and find stuff, and you know, they've got so much here, Anthem and all the battlefields. And,
it also says here, crown jewel, they won't do it, is what they say here.
Crown jewel, they won't do it.
Yeah, well, they won't do.
But it's the ask.
Yes,
fascinating.
Gotham Knights, they expected it to be 50 million.
Yep. Good deal.
This is interesting. Warner Brothers Suicide Squad.
No GTA on PC Game Pass right now.
No. Warner Brothers Suicide Squad.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Wildcards, already a partnership with another competitor, most likely can't offer us rights-wise. They said it would be multiple B for B price, change of guard or discovery makes sell in motion new. Is that planning on coming to PlayStation's Plus on day one or something?
No, but they had a PlayStation State of Play, so they at least have a marketing deal.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just that.
Yeah.
Maybe some like PS Plus skins or something.
There's a few more like email things here. One from Sarah Bond to like a lot of heads like Matt Booty and Phil Spencer and stuff saying this was them talking about having an emergency meeting to figure out how to fill in the gaps in its release schedule after realizing Starfield would not make holiday 2022. For quarter two, there's a few impactful D&Ds. The best option would be to attempt to go for high-performing short window titles plus to plus up the holiday period. This would include Lego Star Wars, Dying Light 2, all across PC and console. Additionally, we could potentially try for a Paradox / Cities Skylines 2 closed beta release. In addition to these options, we're also aiming to launch our Riot partnership during this window, which will be helpful to us on PC. I'm not 100% certain what that is.
They announced that ages ago now. It's just a Riot partnership, and that where a lot of their games are meant to be playable on cloud.
Right. Okay.
League of Legends isn't on the Game Pass app, but you can play a number of their games through the cloud. I'll have another squiz of the catalog here, like
Interesting.
Legends of Runeterra or something like that.
The highest probability / cost-effective path is with Warner Brothers Gotham Knights and Ubisoft's AC Rift. Assassin's Creed Rift. I'm not sure what that is. Perhaps that's Mirage. Maybe that was an internal name for Mirage, considering they're talking about games from this year or next year.
Yeah.
Let
me have a look
or
here.
last year even. I'm not too sure.
Game Rant, 30th of August 2022. Yeah, so the official name as Rift is a code name is Assassin's Creed Mirage. Yes.
Based on our assessment, acquisition of other crown jewels / like for example,
crown jewel as a codified corporate term is so funny.
Yeah.
That means something to them. That means is worth X of, or will return X number of users per whatever.
Yeah. They say here Jedi Fallen Order 2, which doesn't have a name in this email, which Jedi Survivor, would not be a good ROI for them, which I find interesting.
That's probably based on a lot of EA Play return and whatever deal they've struck with EA. Because EA's given them so much of EA Play straight to them.
Yeah.
That I imagine they have a bespoke deal with EA just as a whole.
This is
like Legends of Runeterra is here
right
on the service. I imagine things like they're coming out with many like Legends games, like lots of small stories based on individual characters.
Right. This is one of the most interesting things that I've seen in this entire league. So Ethan has said here, Phil Spencer lays out how third-party publishers failed to adapt to digital storefronts, and now subscription services are now trying to leverage giant risky investments in a $200 to $300 million blockbuster to survive. Now, this is what we've been talking about for a long time when we talk about the AAA games industry is not feasible. We know this over and over again, that they keep pumping out these gigantic budget, overblown games in terms
trying
of
to get like the return on investment that GTA got, right?
Which they don't get. They simply do not get.
No one gets.
Yeah. So this is there's quite a meaty chunk here, but I think it's all quite interesting. This is from Phil Spencer. The creation of digital storefronts like Steam, Xbox Store, and PlayStation Store eventually democratized access for creators, breaking physical retailers' lock on game distribution. AAA publishers were slow to react to this disruption. The AAA publishers did not find a way to leverage the moat that physical retail created in the digital realm in a way that had them continue their dominance of the game marketplace. They have not found a way to effectively cross-promote. They have not found a way to build a publisher brands that drive consumer affinity the way Disney has in video. They did not create a social platform that would allow them to reach beyond their aggregate IP MAU, which I'm assuming is like what their expectations are.
Yeah.
Without a lock on physical distribution, the role of the AAA publisher has changed and become less important in today's gaming industry. Over the past 5 to 7 years, the AAA publishers have tried to use production scale as their new moat. Very few companies can afford to spend the $200 million an Activision or Take-Two spend to put a title like Call of Duty or Red Dead Redemption on the shelf. These AAA publishers have mostly used this production scale to keep their top franchises in the top-selling games each year. The issues these publishers have run into is the same production scale cost approach hurts their ability to create new IP. The hurdle rate on new IP at these high production levels have led to a risk aversion by big publishers on new IP. You've seen a rise in AAA publishers.
This is outrageously concise,
right?
For how complex this is,
right? You've seen a rise. You've seen a rise in AAA publishers using rented IP to try and offset the risk. Star Wars with EA, Spider-Man with Sony, Avatar with Ubisoft. The same dynamic has obviously played out in Hollywood as well, with Netflix creating more new IP than any of the movie studios. Specifically, the AAA game publishers, starting from a position of strength driven from physical retail, have failed to create any real platform effect for themselves. They effectively continue to build their scale through aggregated per-game P&Ls, hoping to maximize each new release of their existing IP. The final part of this is, in the new world where AAA publishers don't have real distribution leverage with customers, they don't have production efficiencies, and their new IP hit rate is not disproportionately higher than the industry average. We see that the top franchises today were mostly not created by AAA game publishers. Games like Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, Candy Crush, Clash Royale, Dota 2, etc. were all created by independent studios with full access to distribution. Overall, this IMO is a good thing for the industry, but does put AAA publishers in a precarious spot moving forward. AAA publishers are milking their top franchises, but struggling to refill their portfolio of hit franchises. Most AAA publishers are riding the success of franchises created 10 plus years ago.
God.
Now, I'm just going to throw it.
It's not wrong, but like
it's so spot on when you think about a company like EA.
Yep. Ubisoft
as well. They have had
Sony to a degree.
To a degree, and specifically with the renting IP. But also with
it's tricky because they had a spate of new stuff on PS4 like Horizon,
Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding. But Death Stranding is kind of riding Metal Gear's coattails. But also, we forget the ones like Days Gone, which is the failure of that, right? That or
Concrete Genie.
Yeah, they need these games to hit this $200 million mark. There's this thing where they're spending $100 million of it just on marketing material. They need it to hit, and they need it to return big. And when Days Gone comes around, it's not that Days Gone didn't break even in its production. It's an okay is a failure in the eyes of Sony, who need blockbuster hits, right?
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania making $600 million at the box office is a failure to Marvel when they see $2 billion returns on films.
Yeah.
It's the same equation.
Yeah. It's all relative.
Yeah. Yeah. Really fascinating.
It's fascinating hearing that as the perspective, because that is entirely an external analysis.
Yeah.
And it says nothing about the internal dynamic of their budgets.
Yeah, they don't talk about Xbox or Microsoft at all in that entire
they don't
thing.
Talk about the reception for Halo. They don't talk about the reception for Gears. They don't talk about the reception for Age of Empires and Forza and
it's
Flight Simulator.
They're playing that different game. They don't need to hit that mark, right? Their KPIs are not inherently based upon we need to get an ROI on this of $200 million for sales.
Well, yes and no. How much do you think they spent on Halo, though? You know,
well, that's
like,
the thing.
Those conversations are still happening.
They are happening, but I think they're framed differently, right? They're framing Halo might have been an initial success, a part success to get people onto Game Pass at that time. The failure of Halo was the legs, was that they wanted to build a Halo that would get people staying on Game Pass for 12 months,
as long as possible.
Yeah. Although, but Halo is its own thing anyway, because it's Halo's
online was free.
Yeah, I know it's own. Halo's its own weird thing. I think unfortunately analyzing Halo in this doesn't work. But when you analyze something
it is still interesting though to think about how they are justifying.
Yeah.
And how much they're spending. We don't know how much they're spending.
We should consider perhaps maybe like the Redfall and Starfield when considering those.
The marketing for Starfield especially, and how long it was in development for. Yes, exactly.
Microsoft planned a $1.5 billion hardware subsidiary for Xbox Series SX sales in their first year.
I don't know what that means.
So that's how much money they were leaning against for Microsoft to say my understanding of that means that it's like when you hit that is when you start to that was their budget for the entire thing.
Okay.
Which is
how much?
$1.5 billion hardware subsidiary. Just
for the S.
X and S.
Oh, okay.
That's a tremendous amount of money.
God, isn't it just?
One, I don't think that they made back.
I don't know about that.
For hardware sales, I don't think so.
I don't know about that.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
In 1 year?
Oh, in 1 year?
Yeah. Financial year 2021.
No.
Financial year 2021.
I don't even know how to figure that out. I'm opening up my calculator like I'm going to figure that out. Close the app.
Like you're an accountant.
I'm like, all right, 1.5 billion divided by
So there's two more things that I want to hit at before we wrap this whole thing up, because it's taken a lot here. Keep in mind we're not even like there's even more than what we're saying.
This is the highlights.
Yeah. This is another article from The Verge written by Jay Peters, titled "Microsoft Document Leaked New Bethesda Games, Including an Oblivion Remaster."
Yeah, that's right.
So the article reads, before it was acquired by Microsoft, ZeniMax Media, the parent company of studios like Bethesda Game Studios and id Software, was working on remasters of The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, Fallout 3, and a new entry into the Doom franchise, according to documents revealed as part of the trial. The games were initially included in a July 2020 Microsoft presentation about the then potential ZeniMax acquisition.
Oh, as part of like, here's why you want to buy us. We're working on these things.
Yeah. Unannounced games in the presentation include the Oblivion remaster, as originally set for fiscal year 2022.
What the fuck is that?
Well, so like I think some of these, like there's a lot of remasters here, which leads back into Phil's thing about before, right? Them leaning on old properties,
leaning on IP,
them doing remasters. A thing that I think he doesn't want to do realistically immediately.
He wants to give the studios freedom to go all in on an IP like Starfield and put those resources instead of into something like Oblivion, put it all into Starfield.
Yeah.
Potentially.
This is why we didn't get the Oblivion remastered, Fallout 3 remastered, Dishonored 3, Ghostwire Tokyo sequel.
I mean, I can tell you why we didn't get that.
Sure. Doom Year Zero and DLC, and a second set of DLC. But then they also talk to the Indiana Jones game, which we know is coming.
Again, an established IP.
Another thing here called Project Kestrel, which we don't know what that is. Another one here called Project Platinum, and a vaguely named licensed IP game.
Vaguely named licensed IP game. That's funny.
Yeah. Project Kestrel was originally due prior to the acquisition, financial year 2023, so this year. Same with Project Platinum.
I was like, oh, Jeremy, it's got a site. Project Kestrel aims to build a drone to test humanitarian aid potential in East Africa. Oh,
no, that's good. That's good. There's this is 2020. documents as well. So like this is pre everybody realizing what COVID was going to do to the industry, because it says here Doom Eternal and DLC was due 2020. Deathloop was due 2020.
That was it.
Redfall and Starfield were both due 2021. Indiana Jones 2022. Doom Year Zero 2023. Kestrel 2023. Project Platinum 2023.
Definitely pre-COVID. You're right. Good to see that all of those are pushed back.
Elder Scrolls 6 2024.
Yeah, all right.
Fallout 3 Remastered 2024. Dishonored 3 2024.
Fallout 4 Remastered?
No, 3. Fallout 3 Remastered 2024. Clearly didn't happen.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Finally. Final article that I'm going to reference here. I'm going to cite here, again from J. Peters of The Verge. Microsoft's Phil Spencer says acquiring Nintendo would be a career moment. Career moment is a quote from Phil Spencer.
What do you think he means when he says that? Means like Phil Spencer, the man who acquired Nintendo, steps down at like that kind of like like career defining. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like a Microsoft like legend in the likes of Steve Ballmer and stuff, right? Like someone that righted a ship.
That's a weird thing to describe it as like as in like a corporate document though. It's like, this would be a great thing for me.
This was in an email.
Okay.
It says here,
this would be great. Yeah, let's do it. Let's put my name on the front. Phil Spencer's Nintendo.
The emails were revealed as part of a tranche of leaked documents from the trial. One executive, Takeshi Numoto, asked Spencer and Chris Capoessela in an email titled "Random Thought" about why Microsoft isn't finding acquisition targets like Nintendo a more attractive way a quote more attractive way to quote increase our customer exposure and relevance. At the time, Microsoft was in discussions to acquire TikTok, and Numoto didn't feel it was the best match.
Was this 2020 before Trump like banned it?
This was in the middle of 2020, or I believe middle of 2020.
Yeah.
From Phil Spencer to Chris and Takeshi. Takeshi, I totally agree that Nintendo is the prime asset for us in gaming, and today gaming is our most likely path to consumer relevance. I've had numerous conversations with the LT of Nintendo about tighter collaboration and feel like... LT, I'm not too sure. About tighter collaboration and feel like if any US company would ever have a chance with Nintendo, we are probably in the best position. The unfortunate or fortunate for Nintendo situation is that Nintendo is sitting on a big pile of cash, and they have a BOD that is until recently not pushed for further increase in market growth or stock appreciation. Board of directors.
Board of directors, thank you. I was like, body of...
Yeah. I say until recently, as our former Microsoft board of director member, Value Act has been heavily acquiring shares of Nintendo, links to Reuters article, and I've kept in touch with Mason Morfitt as he's been acquiring. It's likely he will be pushing for more from Nintendo stock, which could create opportunities for us. Without that catalyst, I don't see an angle to a near-term mutual agreeable merger of Nintendo and Microsoft. I don't think a hostile action would be a very good move, so we are playing the long game, but our board of directors have seen the full write-up on Nintendo and Valve, and they are fully supportive on either if an opportunity arises, as am I. LT is presumably shorthand for leadership team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That would shake the industry to its core.
It would shake
if
entertainment.
Xbox bought Nintendo.
Yeah.
That would upend the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would all of a sudden Microsoft would dwarf Sony overnight.
Yeah.
Like Xbox joining hands with Nintendo, it would put an immense amount of pressure on Sony, like a potentially like dangerous amount of pressure for their brand.
And he was on right at that point. Like he is like drilled into like we're gonna make some big moves. A month after this email, they announced intention of inquiring ZeniMax Bethesda.
Right. So this is pre Actiblizz.
Yeah. This was
So this is years ago. This is like 3 or 4 years ago.
2020.
I just can't imagine a world where that happens.
Certainly not anymore. Nintendo has changed
anymore.
so much in the past 2 years, just based on the games have put out their upcoming hardware and their movie deals. Their movie deals, I think, at this point has ripped away any chance of this happening almost single-handedly.
Nintendo's comfy, right? Like they are happy where they are. They are happy being who they are.
And Phil says that. He says they are sitting on a big pile of cash, which has never been more true.
They have no reason to take an acquisition. They don't need to be bailed out of anything. They generate millions of dollars. They have one of the most successful consoles of all time. They've got incredible brand recognition. They're seen as independent and as authentically themselves, which is quite something for a multi-billion-dollar organization. Like,
and a direct competitor to Sony, who is a Japanese company.
That's true. While also having such a varied portfolio that does not directly compete with Xbox's portfolio. Like, it would be such a complementary acquisition to have under their wing alongside Bethesda and Halo and Gears, have Mario and Kirby and Zelda. What a pairing. It's a heady combination.
And it means Game Pass on the Switch. It means Mario via the cloud. It means
Zelda in 4K on Xbox Series X, maybe. Well, probably not. They would still
operate.
Put it on Xbox.
Yeah, like they would still operate the way they do. There was another thing which I haven't grabbed, but there was a thing about Phil Spencer basically talking about how he believes that the future of Nintendo is off their own hardware. I'm not sure if that is a sentiment he still feels. I know that
the future of Nintendo is off their own hardware, like Sega.
Yep. I don't think that's true.
I don't see that right now.
I don't agree with that.
No, especially like the Switch is doing so well. The problem is the Wii was doing so well, and then the Wii U is such a catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
So Nintendo is playing a riskier game. They have to keep generating excellent. Like they've established the IPs and they know how to put the quality in, except for with Pokemon, to make sure that those IPs like sustain and continue to break boundaries and define genres and redefine genres.
Yeah.
But remaking a hit console every time that's unique and different and like has something that's fun and cool, that isn't just like, oh, it runs everything you know now, but at 1440p. Then they're never interested in just a spec bump like what we've gotten with PlayStation and Xbox for the last few years. They want something that will wow people in its form factor, in its design, in its capacity, in the way it works, in the way it makes you think about games differently. You know, they want to make you imagine things, which is such a high bar to clear over and over and over again. It's no wonder the Wii U failed.
And think of the potential if they did go along with this merger acquisition. Think of the potential of just toys, merchandising, all that stuff, being able to then license out the IP that Nintendo owns to other film studios, TV, animation.
You think this acquisition allows more of that to happen? Because they are doing that.
No, but Microsoft gets a piece of that pie is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
They can look at this saying like, this is just a license to print the most amount of money.
They would get a slice of the Pokemon pie.
Yep.
The most successful, the most singularly successful brand in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking hell. And to just casually throw in Valve in there as well, like literally just in parentheses, just 2 words, and Valve.
And to so nonchalantly that like I have approval from the people who I need approval from to make this the moment the opportunity arrives. Like he's got a loaded gun ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
meanwhile he's having dinner with everyone, but he's sitting on that loaded gun.
He has pre-approval to make the largest deal in entertainment since Disney buying Fox.
Yeah. Well, they're doing that with ActiBliz is the thing.
I think Disney Fox
wasn't that like 50 billion?
I want to say that was more, 70 billion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're on par then with the Fox deal.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but just to have a loaded gun to do that, you're right. It's not like, yeah. It's like getting ready for the idea of maybe if this happens, we need to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Because when they're talking about Valve, they're not like, oh, we want to own Half-Life Alyx and
no, it's they want to buy Steam.
They say Steam.
Yeah.
They want to purchase Steam. They want to fold Steam into the Xbox ecosystem fully, and also take, as you said, a slice of every single one of those transactions that runs through Steam, which would earn them overnight millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, billions, depending on the slice.
Billions and billions of dollars.
Billions.
That's a Carl Sagan impression there for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, nuts, bonkers.
Jeremy, when you said last night, so we're doing the Xbox stuff, right? And I was like, huh? You said it's maybe one of the biggest leaks in the industry, in the industry's history. And I was like, is it really? Going through this today, yes, definitely. It really, 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 really is.
Yeah.
But the question came to mind of like, what are some of the other biggest leaks that the industry has seen? Yeah. And so I just want to, whether like, I think this sits on top, but let's go over a few of them. I gathered a few before we started the show, and let's just compare them quickly, briefly, and then we'll move on to a quick dose of what we've been playing.
Yeah.
So the first one came to mind. We spoke about this probably this time last year. November 2020 was when it was updated. Posted September 22, 2022. This story so far article was posted on IGN by Matt Kim about the Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks, everything that's happened so far. That was Sunday, September 18th, they said.
Yeah.
This was the start of a string of leaks where Uber was hacked and all that stuff, and seemingly through the same method that this person. But basically, this person found the Rockstar Slack channel, got in, downloaded a bunch of assets, and then released all of them.
Well, it was that, but also got into like their internal documentation systems and
that's right
and stuff. Like they got into Confluence, which is like a.
And then where were they posting it? On fan forum GTA forums.
Yeah.
And you said I remember you saying when you were talking about this last year when we did the topic on it, that they were taking requests. They were like, "What do you want to see?" Someone would ask,
and they would just go and get it.
They would find it and post it.
It was it was the most one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The audacity to say, "What do you want to see about Grand Theft Auto 6?"
Now, not only is this huge because it's the next GTA after the absolutely unprecedented success of GTA 5, but also the sheer transparency and how early we were seeing, like how unrefined the footage was for footage of what will be one of the most AAA, big budget, gargantuan games you've ever seen in your fucking life. Is truly, truly never seen before. Not before or since. It is absolutely fascinating.
Like I don't know a game that would be able to be leaked that would top this. I can't actually conceptualize a game that would be bigger than this.
No, I mean, like you said, like it's GTA. It's GTA 5.
Yeah.
Or it's GTA 6. It's a sequel to GTA. Like GTA is the game that like is at the top of the NPD charts or whatever they're called now every month. Even like months and years after any re-release or the initial release. It's been out for 10 years this month.
Yeah.
Like probably this week.
That's funny.
And we're still talking about it, and the sequel still hasn't arrived. And we saw like such early footage.
It was last week, but yeah, it was the 17th.
The
17th of September.
So anyway, this was a huge leak. This is a smaller one, I would say, but it was still important again for that sort of transparency. Recently, when the FTC versus Microsoft hearing was going on in regards to the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition, there were court documents supplied by Sony from Jim Ryan that include details on margins. It was supposed to be redacted for some of their internal budgets and properties, It was redacted with an ink that was seen through whatever material scanned it.
A Sharpie, like you
A Sharpie. The Sharpie.
You famously do not redact things with a Sharpie. It is not made for redacting.
Well, they did that, and so then it was published online, and then everyone saw it. I'm reading from the Verge article. This is from Tom Warren and Sean Hollister. Sony's confidential PlayStation secrets just spilled because of Sharpie. This was June this year. Reading from the middle of the document, the court has scrambled to remove the document, but the damage is done. Reporters and Sony's competition have already downloaded all the documents while they are in the public domain. Yeah. Just like scoop.
Yeah.
Among other things, the document shows that Horizon Forbidden West apparently cost $212 million over 5 years with 300 employees, and The Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million with around 200 employees. Those are the sort of again, that transparency is sort of unprecedented there. That's why I've included it. It's not quite as big as seeing alpha footage, like pre alpha footage of GTA 6, but
no.
And then you had the good prompt, Jeremy. Do you remember what it was?
The NVIDIA leak?
The NVIDIA leak. The NVIDIA leak that continues to show that it was true all along. When did this happen? So I'm reading from PC Gamer, and this is saying that in early September, so this must have been 2021. September 21. Someone was tinkering in NVIDIA's GeForce Now client and discovered a way to access a list of all the games in the database, some 18,000. Among the database entries, he found games that hadn't been announced for GeForce Now streaming support, and what seemed to be a goldmine of games that hadn't been announced at all. So scrolling through, here's a list of the notable ones. Half-Life 2 Remastered, that has since become clear that is happening with some cool ray tracing RTX trickery.
Yeah.
Sony's list of things, none of these had been announced for PC or coming off of the system. Some of these hadn't even been announced as games that existed yet. We're looking at Demon Souls, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, Gran Turismo 7, Helldivers 2, Horizon Forbidden West, Ratchet & Clank, Returnal, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection. Now, 6 of those have come onto PC out of 10, so that's huge. More of those, I imagine we'll see Ghost of Tsushima on here at some point. Horizon, we've seen the first one there. We'll see the second one there.
Demon Souls, maybe at some point.
Maybe, not sure about that one.
Yeah.
That's a good PS5 showcase. I could see them holding that for a while. But Gran Turismo 7, that could be a good way to compete with Forza a bit to get onto a competing platform of PC. Square Enix, we've got Chrono Cross Remaster, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy IX Remake, Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster, Kingdom Hearts 4, which wasn't announced at the time. New strategy game, which since has been confirmed as the Diofield Chronicle, Tactics Ogre Remaster, Tomb Raider 25th Anniversary, which would have been 2021, unannounced Card Game 2, which could have been Voice of Cards, The Forsaken Maiden. So Final Fantasy IX Remake hasn't been announced yet. They don't own Tomb Raider anymore at Square Enix. So most of those things have come to light.
Yeah.
7 Remake, Kingdom Hearts 4 didn't exist and it does now exist.
Yeah.
Take-Two, we see BioShock 2022. That didn't happen. BioShock RTX Remaster, XCOM 3. Sega, we see Judgment, Endless Legend 2, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Total War 9. And on it goes.
Yeah.
On and on and on it goes.
So many specific polls. So many.
Resident Evil 4 Remake, Street Fighter 6.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was including stuff like the Yakuza game Judgment and but it's also included games that we now know don't exist, right? It included Resident Evil 4 Remake, Street Fighter 6, and Dragon Dogma 2, but it also included
Solid 2, 3.
It also included things like Titanfall 3. Which we know have been cancelled since then.
It was being worked on and is no longer being worked on. Yeah. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, Earth Defense Force 6, Talos Principle 2. It's wild. And especially with how early it came out. Like some of these, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's happened. But like 2021, we didn't have a whiff of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, you know?
Yeah.
If you told me there was a sequel to that game, the original one of those came out in like 2012. If you told me there was a new one of those coming out in a couple of years, I would have laughed in your face.
That game looks really good, by the way.
It does look really good. It's got co-op.
Yeah.
And of course, The Last of Us Part 2 had a major leak. That was probably the biggest single game leak. That was really early. It was really widespread. It was everywhere.
Oh, yeah,
you couldn't avoid spoilers. did for the most part. But
yeah, aside from GTA, like that one definitely, like, because that, like, and that was, yeah, it got shown, it got leaked around early, and there was a version of the game that got put out, and
yeah,
yeah,
close to final code, and yeah, so that was a big one. But compared to this Xbox documents leak, seeing future plans for consoles we've never heard of, like, that is fucking insane. It's mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
Anyway, that's enough about Xbox.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us with that. We're going to talk a little. You want to talk a little more, Jeremy, or should we end it there?
Let's maybe just talk about Cyberpunk 2.0.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, because we've been playing a bit of stuff. I don't have that much to say about Lies of P. Just that I played it on Xbox and I want to play it on PlayStation.
Yeah, like I've gone just further than the demo now.
Oh, okay.
And it's fucking real good.
So you're a few hours in then.
Yeah. I put 2 meaty sessions into it.
Yeah, nice. And like we touched Payday 3, but not enough to talk about.
Yeah,
I'm in love with Tears of the Kingdom. I've played so many hours of it this weekend, and I'm so enamored again. Like, to the point where I was thinking to myself, like, is Tears of the Kingdom really the best game this year? I'm not so sure. I'd been thinking that to myself. This weekend, I have reproven that to myself that it is probably going to be my game of the year.
Interesting.
But yes, let's talk about Cyberpunk, specifically the 2.0 update.
Yeah.
The DLC, the Phantom Liberty expansion isn't out yet, but the 2.0 update came out last week. I've had access to it a little bit before. I was doing some work on it. I would love to hear what you think about this update, Jeremy, as someone who has played the game before, and then I'll give you my thoughts on this as someone who hasn't played the game before.
Yeah, so I've played Cyberpunk in 2 different versions prior to 2.0, which was on launch and
on PS5. It should be said, not PS4. It's important to point out where you played it.
Yeah, but also
Mate, it was really rough on PS4 and Xbox One.
I know, but I was still getting frame rate dips and crashes every 40 minutes anyway, to the point
Yeah. No, you definitely were, but you weren't getting the PS4 experience.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at the review for that. Like, IGN did a review for that specific version on PS4 and Xbox One at the time.
Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah.
But sorry, go on.
And then I played it again. Like, I restarted the game and got through the prologue, preparing for 2.0 recently, just before 2.0. And it was much better on version 1.6 or whatever the final version was prior to 2.0.
Yeah, the Edge Runners update.
Yeah. Like it felt better in almost every way. Like, just like, and I was running a PS5 version of the game by that point anyway, which didn't originally launch, because it was just a PS4 game. Running on a PS5, the technical issues had been dialed down, not removed completely. When I was playing 1.6, I had a hilarious bug, which threw me out of the map, and I had to reload a previous save. And I was like, "Oh, I remember you." The children who walk around Night City are still just scaled down adults.
Yep.
But overall, it was a much smoother, more enjoyable experience that I properly got to enjoy, like the character beats and the moments and the writing and even the combat to a much higher extent, and the driving in the world. Like, everything felt a lot better. And then 2.0 came out, and I started to play that. And the first thing it does...
So how much time have you put into the new update?
Only 1 or 2 big sessions, so probably about like 6-7 hours.
Okay, yeah, no, but that's plenty.
Yeah. I'm still like in the first chapter of the game. Like, I'm still on like doing all the initial missions.
Act 2, like where you just meet Johnny.
I think that's technically Act 1, because like...
No, it says Act 2.
Oh, it says Act 2. Okay.
When you meet Johnny, that says Act 2, which is after the title screen just pops up.
Okay, yeah, that's why I assumed it was just called Prologue.
No, because there is a prologue. You know, when you do your like start with Jackie.
Yeah. But yeah, like, and when you load in the game, it's like, hey, like, we've wiped your character's like abilities, we've refunded you all your points. go build up in the new skill tree, and here's all this new stuff, and new shooting and new weapons and the new way cybernetics work and all that stuff. It's way fucking better now. It's like,
Mate.
it is like way more interesting and exciting to play this game than it ever was when
it's cool.
It's way cool. I can dash and double jump now. There's
mid-air dash,
6 sliding, and the ability freedom is just way better, and the way the world like feels is better. Like things feel a lot more organic now. It's still a bit chunky at points. It's not a completely smooth experience. I'm still getting, the traffic is still really dumb, and the world is maybe not as interactive with itself as I would want it to be. But
yeah, and like sometimes cars still disappear every now and then.
Yeah.
Like you're just there and it's just, whoop, that's gone.
Yeah, and realistically, that's just what that game is going to be. You're never going to get rid of that. But like overall, it's a much more fascinating game to play, and like it's a much more fascinating RPG now to experience. There's so much more freedom in how I approach situations, and my ability to role play into characters now has been dramatically improved.
100%.
The amount of cybernetics that I can throw into my body is way fucking cooler now. And
it does more.
And it also feels like it fits more, right? Like I feel like I'm actually playing a Cyberpunk RPG now at this point. Like I'm actually being able to be a specific character in this world, and
especially with the visual enhancements they made to like your wardrobe, where like gear, like your armor is no longer tied to pieces of equipment that you're wearing, which means that you can wear whatever you want and not look like a doofus just so that you've got a higher armor stat.
Yes. Yeah. Because the first thing I did in when I played it just prior to the patch was like, I was like, well, I guess I'm ignoring this system because I want to look how I want to look, and now I can just do that. And the game is again better off for it. I can dress like my cyberpunk freak and do my freaky cyberpunk shit, and that's good.
Yep.
And like, it's a tale as old as time, but fucking hell, the game should have released like this.
I posted in our Discord the other day, but there was a tweet that Schreier made yesterday that was just, or the day before, that was just a fucking zinger. It was so good. It was like Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 have the same thing in common. Both, have the same thing in common. They were both in early access for the last 3 years. It was like, whoa, like you're basically right.
and I think there's another thing that's important to know about this is that like these are self-published games as well.
Both of them, yeah, it's true.
Is very important. So they had the ability to say to try and do a comeback story for Cyberpunk, and it's like it's people have been talking about on Twitter about comeback stories and stuff, and it's like, look, it's not gonna be a No Man's Sky comeback story. That is them building up a living platform for 6 years now.
And still going.
7,
I think.
Yeah, and continuing to support more and more platforms to continue the reasons to do it, right? All that stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a good thing. This update coming out is good. It makes me not like, roll my eyes when I think about like even considering this game, because the systems in the original game, like they weren't that interesting. They were sufficient, and that's not what CDPR is known for.
Yeah.
So it's way more interesting now. Way more interesting to play. The systems are far more engaging to engage with.
I played that opening act with Jackie up to Johnny before updating to 2.0.
Yeah.
So
I had what I did.
I had a brief taste of 1.6, and even just I didn't notice the lack of police on the street like that. I didn't really notice that, but I just kind of went from mission to mission. The thing that is the most striking difference to me was a couple of mechanics changes. Like you can't just you don't just stock up on healing items and grenades as individual items now. You unlock a certain type, and then you swap between them in your inventory, and they just recharge. So you only start a fight with 2 or 3, depending on your perks of each.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good addition. It means like you're not just looting them and then you've got like 99 of them and they add to your weight, and you can always just like puff on another one and another one to get through a hard fight.
Yeah.
Like that's really good. The skill progression is way better. All of the abilities that they added, removed, tweaked, like bundled into other ones and built off of, and turning them into proper trees rather than this like scattershot screen of like, here are all the things you might want on this screen. Like it was such a mess before. And now it's so cool. They give you those progression, that progression where it's like, to get to that one, you need to have bought into that tree first, like the queue hack, so you could queue up hacking, and then it gives you other hacking benefits as you go further along. It's so much more fun, and they've added so many cool abilities, like the air dash, like being able to block bullets with blades, like being able to slam the ground with blunt weapons, like all of the different car vehicle combat and just general proficiency abilities they add to the tree, like being able to jump out of the car like vertically or dive out while it's running, being able to increase its health so that you take less damage on collisions, or that your vehicles do more damage, or your weapons in the car do more damage. You can now shoot while in the cars, which you couldn't do before. There are now cars with mounted weapons, which is so fun. Like the police now follow you. Did you know that the police didn't follow you if you got in a car? You could just escape.
I did know that. Yeah.
I didn't, because I didn't get in a fight with the police.
Yeah.
And then I did do that as my first experience in 2.0, and then learned after the fact that they didn't already do that.
Yeah.
And my mind was blown. Like, not surprised necessarily to know that they didn't do that in 1.0. I'd believe that. But I thought that they'd done enough stuff to them by 1.6. But it's really fun. Car combat's great. It means that when you get in a fight, like you can, or like if you start being hunted by the police, like it can really start to go on, and there are so many dynamic ways to deal with it. I've been really, the comparisons are going to continue to be drawn between whatever comes out and Starfield this year, I think. And that right now for me is starting with Cyberpunk. Having played Starfield, coming to Cyberpunk, it's an old game, it's just been updated, yada yada. But I cannot help but think about how I may not like the world of Night City as much as I enjoy the open expanse of space and letting you explore that. But it is more enjoyable. It is more believable. It is more whole. It is more cohesive. Like, to sell the scale of the city, of this massive metropolis, it actually takes like 20 minutes to drive from one side to the other. It's huge. That's the majority of the map, right? And it's what they spend all of their time on. It's one big location.
And it's authored, right? It's like it's designed by people who have designed a world which like feels like it's put together in a natural sort of way, right?
It all supports what they're trying to tell with the story and the setting and the design, as you say. Yeah,
it's not generated.
But the thing with Starfield for me isn't the generated content. I'm not even thinking of that when I'm thinking of how New Atlantis isn't really that big. Yeah. It's really hard to get around. And also it ends at the city border and just turns into the rest of the generated planet around it. And all of the cities are like that. They're not actually that big or interesting. They're little towns on planets. You can only go to one little town or another.
Do you know what New Atlantis reminds me of?
Is it the place Xandar?
Xandar. No, Xandar at least has got some character to it.
Yeah, it's pretty white and sterile and fountains everywhere kind of a vibe.
Yeah, but there's like
what I'm going for.
Yeah, but like, you know what it reminds me of, the fucking Citadel.
Oh, and Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, except the thing with the Citadel is it's much bigger.
It is much bigger. But like the open area of the Citadel, where it's just like like generic city.
So specifically, you must be talking about Mass Effect 1.
Yeah,
right? It changes every time.
That is my point of reference. I should say. Like just like vibeless.
Like the promenade, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but there's some shops and you can go downstairs in one area or you can go over to that. And...
It's like they gentrified nothing. It's like
yeah.
it's like when you gentrify something, you remove a lot of the personality for it to make it really boring. But like when there's still a little bit of the character underneath sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
New Atlantis and the Citadel feels like they just gentrified nothing and they just like printed a city.
Yeah, totally. This doesn't feel like that.
No.
You know, I don't necessarily care if I'm not being stopped by randoms on the side of the road like in GTA, because at least the world feels like the world. It feels real. The amount of advertising they've got everywhere, and like the just the way the lights, the street lights and the lights of the buildings, the way the cars drive around, the styles of the cars, like the way everything's built on top of itself, and there's areas where there's no sunlight because there's bridges overhead that bridge across. Like it just feels like an authentic version of what they were trying to show us. It feels like itself.
Yeah.
Can I also say, Jeremy, I'm playing this game on a 3080, so I'm not getting all of the brand new goodness. I tried turning on some of the new shit that came in this update, and because I don't have a 40 series card, I can only do so much. But the stuff I could turn on took my frame rate from like 80 to 20, like with one button press. So like I'm not using any of that, but I got a little bit of ray trace reflections and a good bit of DLSS, and I'm playing in like 1440p, and this game is fucking stunning.
Yeah, sometimes
visually,
yeah.
It is unreal. Like maybe one of the best looking games I've ever seen. And I know I'm not getting the best out of it, right? Because they're actually pushing like the bleeding edge of visuals in the industry, looking at Digital Foundry's content of what it looks like on a 4090. It looks fucking insane.
And like it's I think it's also one of those games that lends itself to being a showcase, because there's so much metal, there's so much reflection, there's so much, realistically, there's a lot of neon lights, and
so many neon lights.
And if there's one thing
so many wet streets.
If there's one thing the human condition loves to look at, it's the reflection of a neon light in a puddle.
Mm-hmm. And especially a bunch of reflections of neon lights in a puddle.
We've not yet been able to grapple with the impact that Blade Runner has on a specific vibe of like a specific approval of a thing, right? Like the idea that like neon in the rain now is the barometer for like, ooh, this is something new.
Well, I mean, let's be honest as well. Like, Blade Runner is part of the cyberpunk milieu. Like, it's kind of like a neon noir kind of vibe. Like, there's a lot of it gets like people, when you start talking about cyberpunk as a genre or as an oeuvre, then like people start getting really nitpicky. It's like, oh no, it's more of a noir detective story, or is this or it's that. No. Let's it's cyberpunk.
Well, like, cyberpunk came out after Blade Runner, but like,
no. I don't mean it is the property cyberpunk. I mean it is the style cyberpunk.
Sure. Yeah.
To how much of an extent is it fully? Maybe not. But that's not what I'm saying. So to see them referencing that so strongly with a game called Cyberpunk, they reference one of the most like the most well-known, like, distinctive pictures of the genre in the form of Blade Runner. I think that is you'd be dumb not to do it.
Yeah,
you'd be silly not to pull from it.
I'm not complaining about
no, totally,
more Blade
it's
Runner
fun.
at
It's
all.
great.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of any trailer of what it looks like with like DLS 3.5 or?
Yeah. Like I've seen like often if I need to do if I need to test like an OBS scene or something, I will often just grab a stream of a gameplay and throw it in the background while I'm fucking around. And I'll often grab just like, like RTX gameplay, or just search it on YouTube, and then that, like, Cyberpunk often shows up.
Yeah.
And then sometimes instead of doing what I'm meant to be doing, I'm just kind of watching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good.
100%.
Yeah.
The thing I love as well is they're recording in 4K, and I can't run the game in 4K with decent ray tracing and a decent frame rate, so I bump it down.
Yeah.
But these videos are like 90 frames per second, 4K, fully ray traced, and I can just load it up on YouTube and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh my, like you should do that on your telly. You should load up like Digital Foundry's latest video on it.
Yeah.
On your telly and just watch. It's absolutely astounding. So yeah, I just needed to point out how the visuals are. I'm really enjoying they put so much work into the story and the dialogue and the voice acting and like even the way characters walk around scenes and the way you're introduced to them and the choices you can make. And like I'm enjoying being able to see that now because, well, I mean, it's the first time I played the game, but like no one spoke about that really. Like it's not the thing that people remember about the discussions back in 2020. It's all how it's buried under all of the different bugs and all of the different issues it had. So being able to see the virtues of the game for what it is really enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the people that made The Witcher.
Yeah.
Turns out
There's a good game under all of that unrefined gunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been very fun. I was racking my brain trying to remember what my issues with the game pre-release were, because I was remembering as I was playing it, I was like, why did I had a moral objection to this game before it came out. I was trying to remember the details of it, and I've got a good picture of it now in my head.
Yeah, like there was a lot of issues across two things: one inside the game, one out. There was very poor use of like transphobic like iconography in like
trans fetishization.
Yeah, in a lot of the material that was like meant to be satirically advertising material inside of the game, but was still gross as hell.
And like they kept it.
Well, they changed some of it.
A little bit, but like the main offense that I remember is that like one like swimsuit advertisement that's still in there. That's everywhere. That's all over the place.
Well, like what they removed was like the outline of genitalia from that. Because
there's still a bulge, isn't there?
Yeah, like there is. Like it's not gone is the thing.
Yeah.
The other obligation was just the way that studio treated crunch and all of that stuff. Like it was like really, really poor form.
So bad. Going back on promises and yeah,
like really bad, really fucking shit.
Also, let's not forget that their social team manager person for a while was making like helicopter gender jokes on the CDPR Twitter account or something. Like there was a string of like questionable like edgelordy kind of posts.
Was that them or was shout out to Rick or something? Do you remember that?
No, not specifically, but I remember that they had a PR person who they kind of strung along a few offhand jokes of them running the account and like replying to people and like doubling down on like kind of gross jokes. That hasn't happened since before the game came out, I don't think. Like, because I think it happened loud one time and they're like, no more of this.
Right. Yeah.
And then there was finally I remember the thing was that like people were upset that you couldn't choose. I think you could only choose like male or female V. And they were like, oh, this is Cyberpunk. Why don't you let me choose all the other bits? So then they let you choose like your bottom genitals, but not like top half genitals. Like you couldn't change whether you had breasts or not independently of all that other stuff. And also you couldn't change your pronouns or voice separately to male, female, V. They were like they did like a half step with whatever they could that wouldn't break their game's coding for like who says what pronouns for all the dialogue and all of that, because it came in like 3 months before launch.
Yep.
As like a placation kind of a thing, and it was like, oh, man, you guys really didn't think about this at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to engage with it with those things in mind, because it's not like I said, that ad's still there. It's not like those things are gone. It's not like they didn't crunch to make that game happen. It's not like they didn't post those things on their social accounts. Like some of those things without reprimand, you know, like important to keep in mind the history of how this game came to be if you're going to get in there and enjoy it for what it is today. Which is a decent game. So yeah, that's it. That's it for us, everyone. That's another long one in the books because of course it was. Jeremy, thank you for bringing that to my and our attention. I completely slept on the majority of that and all of the ramifications.
Of the Xbox stuff, yeah.
It's like if there was an earthquake that woke everyone up and I like read about it on the news the next morning. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I thought I heard something. Okay, cool. And I put my phone down and I didn't look at it ever again for the rest of the week.
Yeah, right.
You're like, it was like an 8.6 earthquake. Like people died. I'm like, oh. So yeah, that's gonna do it for us, everybody. Next week, who knows? Is there a game coming out this coming week, Jeremy? Phantom Liberty is coming out, I guess, but
there is
it's too many games.
I did the picture today, but I haven't posted it because last time I posted it, TikTok got mad at me. EA Sports comes out.
Oh, EA Sports Football.
Yeah, it comes out the end of the week.
Wow. Okay. Well, we probably won't be talking about that, but that's a big deal. I'll be interested to hear how that goes.
Yeah, I'm so curious.
Is that's the next best big thing for this week?
Yeah, like Phantom Liberty's tomorrow. Sonic Frontiers DLC is in the middle of the week. Cocoon comes out this week, Kerry. Cocoon.
Oh, sick! When am I gonna have time to play that?
I don't know when.
I really want to play that.
Yeah.
I did just get Game Pass for Payday.
You could play Cocoon.
I think it's launching on Game Pass.
It is. Yeah, no, it definitely is.
I really want to play that. It's got such a cool style.
And then Assassin's Creed Mirage is the week after.
Oh my fucking god. Okay, cool. All right, so next week you might hear us talk about Cocoon or Phantom Liberty or both or neither.
Yeah. Next week might be a little bit funny. It will.
Oh yeah.
It'll entirely depend on when I get my PC set up.
Jeremy's moving house this weekend.
I'm moving house next Monday, the day we record.
What are you doing Saturday, Sunday?
Packing.
Oh fuck, man.
Yeah. And Friday because
we can record on Tuesday if you want.
Well, we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
So that'll be it's a probably like I'm pretty good at getting my computer set up and just getting everything going, and it'll be a good like test of everything to make sure it all works.
Yeah, I just don't want us to get to the end of a podcast like tonight. It's 10:30 p.m. and you still need to like put your bed together afterwards.
No. Like the bed will be, and I've got the Tuesday off as well from work, so I'm not going to work the next day. Like I'll be all right.
All right. Okay, cool. We'll work it out.
Anytime you move house, the bed is always the first thing. The bed is always the first thing.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It has to be. In case shit like that happens.
Yeah.
But that is a good thing to point out. Week after next will be us talking about PAX Australia, which is happening in 2 weekends from now.
Maybe we record at PAX. Maybe.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on something. And if not, we'll just tweet a bunch probably.
Yeah, like I'll put up something.
And then tell you all about it on Monday.
I'll put up something. I want to try and talk to devs while we're there. Maybe we'll talk about that in the post show. Just for a spell.
Cool.
And then
all right, everyone.
In 2 weeks after that, I'll be in Sydney.
Jeremy's going to South by Southwest Sydney to represent MiniMap.
And then after that, I'll be in Adelaide, but that's not for MiniMap. That's just the Siege Jamiroquai.
Yeah. Jeremy's got a very full month, everybody. So join me in praying for him because he needs your positive thoughts. Until then, though, we'll be back next week. Who the fuck knows what we'll be talking about? We were meant to talk about something else this week, and that didn't happen. So, I'm not even going to bother saying what it might be. This is a surprise next week. You'll get what you get. I hope you return to see what it is.
It'll be good.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be good. Regardless, thank you so much for joining us this week. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the episode with us. This was a really fun one. If you want to make sure you catch next week's episode, make sure to follow all of our social accounts. That's at MiniMapAU. You can also follow us to know when we go live. We usually post those notifications on Twitter or in our Discord, which you can find a link to on our website. Hey, what website is that, you say? That's minimap.com.au. You can go there for everything we've ever done, everything else Minimap related, including the Minidisc Game Club podcast, our pop culture kissability ranking podcast, the latest article that was published, which was your Alaskan Truckers Simulator preview.
Alaskan Road Truckers is the official name of the game.
Road Truckers, thank you. I knew it was not that, but I was in the.
It's an easy mistake to make. The game changed to names at some point. So Alaskan Road Truckers is the current name of the game.
And you can find Jeremy's preview for that on minimap.com.au, along with everything else we've ever done. For those of you that are live with us on Twitch, stick around. We're about to start the post show. We'll name the show and we'll talk a bit about what our plans are for PAX. For those of you listening later, make sure to give us a positive rating. If you've got the time, it helps out a lot. And that's about it. Except, lastly, you can support us on Patreon if you would like to. Remember, we are completely independent and funded almost entirely from what we bring to the table from our day job. So if you'd like to help us keep the mics and lights on, you can do that by heading over to patreon.com/minimapau. And for $5 you'll get 24 hours of early access for all episodes of the MiniMapCast, as well as more benefits, all while helping us out a great deal. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Have a good week, everybody. Don't get buried in games, and we'll see you in a week.